Welcome to Battleground Politics. I'm Mayk. As SEPTA moves toward cuts that will affect riders across our region, I sat down with the SEPTA General Manager Scott Sauer to talk about how they're going to handle the first day of school, the debate over funding for the transit system, and whether they'll be looking for more money again in the future. Scott, thank you for taking some time.
Sure.
I know it's been really busy. As we're sitting here, you have just announced more details about what these new schedules, reduced schedules are going to look like. Are these going into effect?
Yes, they are. They are going into effect absent a funding resolution.
But do you believe that funding resolution is coming at this point?
I say, and maybe I'm trying to speak it into existence, but I always tell people I'm still optimistic. There's still time. Today, we talked about what our kind of point of no return is, and being August 14th is kind of that moment in time where it would take us too long to reverse it, at least for that first week. So when people say, is this really happening? My answer has to be yes, because I don't know otherwise at this point, and I couldn't know otherwise, at least at this moment in time.
These are going into effect, these new schedules, these reductions, route cuts, these are all going into effect right as school is starting, the day before school starts. Did you choose that day on purpose?
No, I mean, yes and no. I mean, we change our schedules the same time of year every year. Our fall schedule, as we call it, goes into effect the day before school starts. That's Sunday. And so this is the same schedule changes that we would do in any other year.
The same time you would usually be changing your schedules. Same time we would do it,
and we change it to be in lockstep with the start of the school session.
I've looked at those changes that affect schools. I know you've got something on your website and you go school by school, and the impacts are significant. What have your conversations been with the school district about those?
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, the school district is very concerned. Parents are concerned. People are trying to figure out now, how am I going to get my child to school each day? The bus that normally would drop them off right outside the door either isn't there or is running at a much less frequency than it had. We were running what we at SEPTA commonly refer to as school trippers. It's kind of extra service to accommodate the school session. We won't do that anymore. So there'll be far fewer buses on the road to accommodate those school children. School district's concerned, as is anybody. They're one of our largest stakeholders. 55,000 students will ride SEPTA to school during the school year. So we know that, I mean, we're in essence the city's school bus service. So they're very concerned, and they're trying to get that message out to parents who have to make alternate plans.
I know you're the situation that you're in right now, but you just made a point that you're sort of the school bus service for the district. That comes with some responsibility. Are you concerned about things like safety when kids have to change buses when they're not used to it, or have to walk to a new stop? Are you concerned that there could be safety issues?
100%. And this is a point of emphasis we've made with the district, with our customers, that when you're looking at your alternate travel plans, this is going to be far different in some cases than when you're going to the same school year after year as a child, you've kind of got that routine, and you had to learn that routine, and now it's going to be different. And parents are going to have to spend some time teaching their children what that new routine is, unfortunately. Yes, I'm very concerned for the children. I'm very concerned for our riders every day, that what was maybe at least an easy commute for them now has become much more difficult, much more challenging, and in some cases is going to tax them physically if they have to walk to a particular stop, if they have to wait for a longer period of time. Not just children, but our riders generally.
Are you doing anything to help to alleviate that in terms of having additional transit police or having people there to help them?
We will pull our full complement of transit police on the system in the places that we think we'll see the biggest crowds. We'll also have ambassador staff. These are our management staff that will be out and about at different bus transit centers, different rail transit centers, looking and trying to help people navigate what is now the new SEPTA network. So we are trying to get staff out to be a friendly face, to be helpful, to try to steer people. It's going to be very frustrating. That first week is going to be completely frustrating for customers as they learn to navigate the new system, because I still believe, as much as we've talked about this, and you and I have talked about it a lot, and I know that the media has been talking about it, we've had it on our website. Day one, people are going to go into it not knowing. They're just not going to know. They're expecting to catch their normal bus at their normal stop, transfer to their normal route, whatever it is that they do, expect to go where they expect to go, and it's not going to happen. So we are really trying hard over these last few weeks to get the word out as much as possible.
In addition to the schools being affected, there's going to be businesses that are affected in terms of getting their employees to you, especially ones who may be, farther out in the suburbs, or have employees who live in the suburbs and are coming into the city. Either way, have there been any companies who have stepped forward and said, hey, we'll give you X amount if you'll run something to this area, who might be able to create some sort of partnership? Yeah,
not that. But what I will say from our business partners is they have been very loud and been very loud voices with the legislature talking about how important SEPTA is. While certainly no one has let's make no mistake about it, SEPTA service is not cheap to run, which is why we're back to Harrisburg asking for additional operating dollars. So no, while at this moment no business has stood up and said, hey, I'll pay for more service, but what they have done is talk to our legislators and advocated for better funding streams for SEPTA, for more operating dollars, so that we can serve not just them, but everyone along that route that maybe culminates with them being somewhere along that route.
Would you be open to something like that, whether it's a sports team or a company sponsoring a line or a route?
Certainly. I mean, we've done sponsorship deals with companies to sponsor rides. Like they would, for example, some of our sponsors have sponsored rides back and forth to the stadium complex for a big game. So yes, if there's an opportunity to engage with certain stakeholders on dedicated service to a particular route, the stadium complex is kind of the ideal one, where there's an opportunity for funding to come from the private sector. And this speaks a little bit to what's in Senator Picozzi's bill, public-private partnerships, where we can engage.
Well, it's not actually in the bill. It's in the memo describing the vision.
Right.
But it's not actually in the bill.
Not to that specificity, but it meets the spirit of what a public-private partnership looks like, where certainly the private sector could engage in something with SEPTA to provide more service. We do that today with station naming rights deals, where the private sector gives us essentially operating dollars that we then pour into that station to make it fit the sponsor's needs. So Drexel Station at 30th Street, for example, NRG Station down the sports complex, those advertising dollars, go to the maintenance and upkeep of that station.
Let me ask you about this oversight bill in Harrisburg, sponsored by Senator Picozzi, and he has some co-sponsors as well. You're supportive of it. It asks for a review by a bipartisan committee that already exists, and then a report. Does it really do much?
Well, time will tell. It doesn't exist yet. But we do have auditing. We do have audit trails. PennDOT has been auditing us for many years. The Federal Transit Administration audits us. We do our own internal audits. So we certainly have mechanisms already to act as checks and balances on how we operate. So I guess time will tell if Senator Picozzi's idea leads to something tangible, some tangible results.
But would it make SEPTA anything that it's not already?
I don't really know the answer to that.
Would it change SEPTA?
I think SEPTA is. I think SEPTA can. I mean, we can certainly improve. There's no doubt about that. And so,
would that language improve?
Again, I'm not really sure if that language gets the deal done or not. Gets the improvement over the finish line. But I certainly wouldn't stand in the way of an idea that would help us improve. And that's kind of, I think, where we are right now. It's an idea.
I did speak with one of the co-sponsors recently who said that she had heard from some constituents who don't want the legislature giving any more money to SEPTA. How do you respond to that?
I certainly understand some of that. I know why they feel the way they do. I think that SEPTA adds such tremendous value to not just this region, but to the Commonwealth as a whole. And I also think that there's some misunderstandings about what SEPTA is and how it operates. We're not a private sector company. We don't make profit. We are a public sector organization. We're almost a public utility, like water or electricity. We're a necessity, and we feed dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into the Commonwealth's revenue streams that benefit those senators, their districts, all across the Commonwealth. So while I understand their apprehension to maybe send more dollars, and they talk about SEPTA all the time, and I understand we're the big dog, so we kind of get all the attention. But that doesn't just feed SEPTA, it feeds the entire Commonwealth's transit system. And there are seniors and people with disabilities who count a great deal on those systems in their counties. So yes, I understand their trepidation, but I would argue that SEPTA is already very efficient, we're safer, we're cleaner, and we're moving in the right direction.
This is the point where people, as you pointed out, are starting to pay a little bit more attention to the details of this, because it had felt, sort of far away when we first started talking about this. And I am getting questions, and I'm seeing people post questions online about why SEPTA is in this situation. Why can't SEPTA pay for itself?
Well, there's a long history, and I could certainly take you all the way back to the 1960s when we were formed. And we were formed from bankrupt private sector transit agencies. People were trying to do it for a profit, and they couldn't. But the General Assembly at that time felt it was necessary to have public transit, especially in this region, so they created SEPTA. We were born of bankruptcy, and we became the transit agency for this region, pulling in not just those bankrupt transit agencies of the 60s, but we also absorbed the Reading and Pennsylvania railroads. We also absorbed the suburban transit companies out in Delaware and Montgomery counties. And so we were pulled together as this makeshift organization to run transit because it was felt it was needed. We were never created as a private company with shareholders and profits. We were just meant to provide a sorely needed service in this area to keep this region humming to the point where it could grow, and it has. I mean, look around where that growth has occurred. It has occurred around mass transit. And when we grow where there is no mass transit, the first thing we hear from developers is, when we get a rail line here? Can we get a bus route here? So we know that there's a desire for this in those areas where they develop.
The way that the governor's proposal is set out, it essentially gives a larger percentage of money to SEPTA. So it's done in a way that it would continue to give you more money. But can you guarantee people that if you get the money you're looking for this year, that SEPTA won't be back in Harrisburg asking for more next year or the next year or the next year?
If we get the funding that we are counting on that the governor has proposed, yes, I can guarantee I won't be back next year.
What about the next year?
Or the year after. But I can't guarantee that SEPTA won't ever be back, because our costs grow just like everyone else's costs grow. And if the sales tax and the dollars that we get from this solution don't match that growth, then eventually we'll be faced with a problem again in the future. And for those who say, well, SEPTA's always got their hand out every few years, and that may be true certainly in recent memory, but prior to 2022, we had a solution, Act 89. And that was a 10-year solution that we made last 12 years. And that's with 5 years of pandemic in the middle of it. So we did make that solution last as long as it was intended to last, and then some. Depending on what happens here will determine how soon we'll be back, if we can get back. What I'm charged to do is, even with the funding that comes, I'm charged to find a way to be more self-sustaining than we are today. I'm not sure that I can guarantee that we'll ever be self-sustaining, but we can do more. We can bring in more revenues. We can collect more fares. We can make the service more efficient than we are today, and that will improve our position so that whenever we have to return to the legislature, we'll have a really good story to tell.
Scott, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You can find more Battleground Politics and more of the impact of SEPTA cuts and the debate over funding on our website, NBC10.com, on our NBC Philadelphia YouTube page, or wherever you get your podcasts.